Welcome back to the Kevin O'Connor Show. What an epic game one of the NBA Finals between the Pacers and the Thunder. 111-110 game one win for Indiana. To discuss it with me is Tom Haberstroh. Tom, how you doing? Woo! Woo! Crazy. Unbelievable.
Dude, what just happened? What just happened? Kev,
Unbelievable.
what just happened?
Tom, I can't believe it right now because it felt like throughout most of the game, it felt like OKC should have been up 20 or up 25, and they were up 10, up 15, here or there in the game. Indiana at one point is on pace to have the most turnovers in an NBA Finals game in NBA history. They had 23 entering the fourth quarter. They have only one in the final frame as they make multiple great runs, clawing their way back before Tyrese Haliburton does it again. He did it again.
He did it again. He did it again, Kev.
Oh my goodness.
This is the most mind-boggling postseason run I have ever seen. Like, this team, the Indiana Pacers, were plus 5,000 odds to win the NBA championship this season, preseason. Plus 5,000. And here they are against the team that had the best point differential in NBA history during the regular season. They go into their building, OKC, that has lost one game to the Eastern Conference all season long, and they upset them at the last second. Tyrese Haliburton did it again. This dude, what other dance, what other celly? There's nothing else he can do. It's all done. He's done it all. Tyrese Haliburton is immortal, dude. Immortal.
It feels like Indiana continues to be a team of destiny, right? I mean, like, there's just no other way to put it. This team just continues to have games like this. They're down 15 in the second half to, as you said, one of the greatest regular season teams we've seen, a team that has been dominant throughout their entire postseason run. And in Oklahoma City, they still have the resilience to have a comeback like this with multiple guys coming up clutch. Obviously, Obi Toppin, all the threes he hit throughout the game. Andrew Nembhard, some of the clutch shots, clutch plays he made, real aggressive drives to the basket. Neesmith had a big three late in that second half of the fourth quarter as well. And OKC just kind of collapsed. I mean, like, is there anything you'd pin it on? Like, how do they give this up? How do you give this lead up? Or is this just more Indiana just doing what they've been doing, and as we've been talking about this whole postseason, Tom?
The shot making was insane. The Andrew Nembhard play, one-on-one, where he crossed up gilgeous-alexander on that left wing to get to his left side and hit the three-pointer with 2 minutes left to bring the game within 3 points. That was one of the nastiest plays I have ever seen in the NBA Finals in their building. Like, this is the Obi Toppin threes. Miles Turner didn't play down the stretch because he was so good, and the Thunder went small down the stretch. They wanted to switch. They wanted to be able to guard 1 through 5. And Rick Carlisle, whatever he has imbued in this team, to give him the faith to never let the opponent beat them at any point. They were down. The Pacers were down by 14 points with 8:58 left. They had a 99.1% chance. The Thunder had a 99.1% chance at winning this game, according to Inpredictable.com. Mike Bowie's his algorithm had a 99.1% chance for Oklahoma City Thunder to win game one on their home floor with 8:58 remaining in the fourth quarter. And the Pacers did it again. Tyrese Haliburton was locked up all night long. When he was in the torture chamber, Lou Dort had him in fits. And
Amazing,
he gets that matchup against Cason Wallace in that last second scenario. And I was like, he's going to do it. He's going to do it. Lou Dort has had him bottled up the last 2 seasons. He got freed up in that last second possession. And I was just like, he's going to do it again. And sure enough, he gets that pull up mid-range. He held up his follow-through. He knew it was going in as soon as he released it. Tyrese Haliburton is incredible. The NBA has gotten a gift from the basketball gods in Tyrese Haliburton, delivering another late game winner, just unbelievable what we have seen from Tyrese Haliburton this postseason. Done it to every postseason opponent. Milwaukee, the Cavs, the Knicks, and now the Thunder have all been victimized by Tyrese Haliburton's heroics. Unbelievable.
It's crazy that he's had one every single round like this. And I'll tell you what, though, about Haliburton. Hitting that mid-range shot, he used the mid-range for the game winner. He's a 48% shooter on pull-up mid-range jumpers throughout the entire season, regular season and playoffs. Elite number from the mid-range for Haliburton. He's been like that throughout his entire career. Only 13 shots tonight. Sometimes I wish he would do this in the first quarter and in the second quarter and not just the end of games, because we see what he's capable of doing with the shot creation, Tom, when he does put on his aggressive hat. And with him, I still think for Indiana to win this series, you're still going to have a game where Haliburton has 20 plus shots in a game. And he's capable of doing it, is my point here, because we saw him do it in the second half. He had a very aggressive third quarter. He hit big shots in the fourth quarter. Haliburton, they win a game one with Haliburton having only 14 points on 13 shots. Haliburton was not at his best in this game, and yet Indiana did exactly what they had to do. They went on the road, they split a game one, and somehow they split a game one despite having 24 turnovers in the game. 24 turnovers in the game, and this is where OKC really lost the game. 24 turnovers. They scored only 11 points off of those turnovers. Only 11 points. That's where the game should have been a blowout for Oklahoma City. They should have been up 25 at certain points in the first half, for that matter. Never mind in the third quarter. But they weren't taking advantage of the opportunities that the Pacers were feeding them when they were sloppy over the course of the whole game. I'm kicking myself if I'm Oklahoma City. I'm pissed off tonight if I'm a Thunder fan, because it's like, how do we not win this game? How?
You think you're going to be pissed off if you're an OKC team?
I don't think I'm sleeping tonight.
Yeah, no, you shouldn't sleep until game two. Like, that's how upsetting this has to be, how devastating this has to be, that they had 14 steals and Indiana had one. And it was like a garbage steal. It was in the backcourt with TJ McConnell swiped. I think it was Aaron Wiggins had him swiped in the backcourt. They didn't have a single steal in OKC's front court the entire game. A plus 13 steal margin in an NBA Finals game is usually, I promise you, I looked this up, a plus 12 margin in the steal column in postseason history. Plus 12. 12 or more steals in your opponent. In postseason history, teams are 16-1 now. The one being tonight, OKC has the only loss with a plus 12 margin in the steal column. We've never seen this before. Wow. A team dominate that category by this much. They had 14 steals to Indiana 1, and the margin of victory by the team with the more steals in that, at least 12 more steals than their opponent, the margin of victory entering tonight in postseason history was 19.9 points. That's a 20-point average win margin going into tonight when you have that many more steals than your opponent. What I was thinking in that whole fourth quarter, Kev, was the Ryan Russillo. Is the classic Ryan Russillo line. I'm actually more impressed by the Indiana Pacers in this series. Like, what they did in this game, if they were going to lose by 5, if they were going to lose by 10, I was going to be more impressed by the Indiana Pacers in this game because of the fact that they kept it within a 3-4 possession game while they were down by 20 turnovers in this game. Kev, that was unreal to see that resilience. But again, this is what the Pacers have done all postseason long.
Something that's interesting to me from watching this entire game, really the thought started before the game. Oklahoma City Thunder head coach Mark Daigneault started Case and Wallace over Isaiah Hartenstein. And this decision was to add more defense, add more speed, add more versatility in Wallace. Wallace in the game finished with a minus 13. Obviously, plus minus is not always indicative of anything, but Haliburton hits the game winner over him. At times early in the game, Siakam was shooting over him as well. In Indiana, Rick Carlisle, when, it's time to win the game late in the fourth quarter, he decides to go small. The Pacers, I think they would prefer Oklahoma City to be small in this series. So I'm curious, Tom, do you think Daigneault may have been overthinking it going with Wallace in the starting five over Hartenstein, or ultimately was it the right decision? It just didn't pan out with a win in game one.
Yeah, this game wasn't lost by the starting lineup. Like, I don't think that's really what happened here. I think they just choked. I think they choked down the stretch. And you can argue maybe Hartenstein and Chet Holmgren starting would have gotten this so out of hand that the Pacers would never have a chance to rally back into this game. But that does seem to me like a very surprising move. I went and looked this up, trying to figure out if there's any comp for this. I went back something like 30 years to find a finals champion that switched their game one lineup to something they haven't started all postseason. I couldn't find one. I could not find one. Like, we've had 2017, the Golden State Warriors made a switch in their starting lineup in game one to open up the series, but it was to their normal lineup. Like, in 2014, the San Antonio Spurs, they switched Matt Bonner out, which they finished the Western Conference Finals with, and they put in Thiago Splitter back into the starting lineup for game one. But they had gone to the splitter lineup all postseason long. It's just they made that switch at the end of the Western Conference Finals. This, I don't know that I've seen an NBA champion, a team that was holding court in the home court advantage, make this kind of panic move. It seems like something that a team that wasn't as dominant as OKC was all season long. I'm not saying they lost the game, but it certainly was uncharacteristic of Mark Daigneault making this move when they had home court advantage. They had the regular season 68 win, number one overall pick, the best point differential in NBA history, and you make that game one switch. It was very questionable, but I wouldn't go as far to say is that what's cost them the game. It just was a choke down the stretch.
Yeah, I think I'm with you there. I mean, ultimately, I thought it made some sense to go with Hartenstein off the bench instead of in the starting line because of Wallace's speed. The matchups made sense on paper, but I would be surprised if he went back to two bigs in game two. However, I do wonder if maybe you'd see more of Chet and Hartenstein on the floor together rather than just staggering them. But ultimately, I do think it was surprising to see it for game one for all the reasons you stated, Tom, because look, it's your game one at home. You're a 68 win team. You rolled through the West except for the 7-game series against Denver. And usually that would be a move you would think you would save for later in the series if necessary, instead going to it in game one. But ultimately, you're right. I think more than anything else, this was just a choke deep in the game, but also Indiana's defense. It's not like Indiana was struggling defensively throughout the game. OKC in the first half was very inefficient, struggling to create quality looks, even SGA. It was more volume scoring, not high efficiency scoring. That was true for everybody on that roster, Jalen Williams included. Williams was 6 of 19 in the game. SGA finished 14 of 30, but Chet 2 of 9. Dort had great shooting night, 5 of 10. Cason Wallace 3 of 9. Caruso 3 of 8. A lot of guys weren't getting quality buckets. Indiana's defense, as it has been since really the middle of December, was great again. And so I think in that fourth quarter, Indiana continued to defend well, and they just fixed their turnover issue on offense. They started controlling the ball better, slowed down a little bit as well. They were sped up a bit throughout the game, and only one turnover in the fourth quarter. When you're getting buckets in the half court, that's able to set up your defense as well in half court possession. So I think it was a mixture of choke job by OKC, but also just Indiana continuing to defend at a high level.
Yeah, here's a stat for you. In those 14 live ball turnovers for OKC, they forced 14 live ball turnovers by the Indiana Pacers. They scored 7 points off of them. A 50 offensive rating off of live ball turnovers for Oklahoma City. That is a tourniquet on a wound. Like what Indiana did by making sure that they got back on defense on those turnovers and made sure that they stopped the bleeding was remarkable. What Rick Carlisle has done, again, Nembhard, Pascal Siakam, Obi Toppin, Tyrese Haliburton, Aaron Nesmith, these guys are going down the floor and making sure they do not give up those easy baskets. Excuse me, those easy baskets at the rim. And so when you look at the Indiana Pacers and the way that they're built against OKC is you got to make sure you don't turn the ball over. But if you do, you stop the bleeding on the other end. And allowing OKC had a 50 offensive rating off of those live ball turnovers. In the postseason, they had 136 offensive rating. 136, and in this game it was 50. That's the game right there. Yes, you can say it's a collapse by Oklahoma City down the stretch, but the fact that they were still in that game despite having 19 turnovers in the first half, there were 4,280 games, postseason games since 2000, and we had never seen a team cough up the ball 19 times in the first half. And the reason why they were able to absorb that and able to be rescued from that is because they stopped OKC in transition defense and made sure. I mean, there was that J-Dub dunk late in the game in the fourth quarter where TJ McConnell threw it from out of bounds and just threw it away at half court, and J-Dub went down and dunked it. I was like, it is weird. For all the turnovers that they've had, you never really saw a leak out or an easy open layup the other way. And that really tells us the story of the Indiana Pacers, that they never give up and they always come back and recover. And you saw it. Tyrese Haliburton finished the job.
How shocked were you when AJ Mitchell got some minutes in an NBA Finals game 1?
Whoa. Do you think they were playing with their food a little bit?
Man.
It was cool to see, but Kev, he was a couple times looked very, very bad in that game. Yeah, there it is. There was a 3-pointer, then he forced another shot, and then goes the other way.
What was that? Slow down.
And Tyrese Haliburton on the other end just gave him a little pump fake, and man, AJ Mitchell was in the front row, bit on that pump fake.
And that's when Daigneault pulled him. I think AJ Mitchell knew right away. You could see him kind of hang his head as soon as the whistle was blown for the timeout, because he's like, okay, I know. I'm done. I'm out of here. After that sequence, I'm out. I'm over. But I was shocked by it. I mean, AJ Mitchell, he played 597 minutes during the regular season, which is a solid amount for a second-round pick on a really deep team. I like AJ Mitchell at UC Santa Barbara last year. He's a talented playmaker. He's a solid shooter. He's an active player. Definitely saw the energy he brought on the floor. But man, game one minutes for a rookie who's barely played at all in months. Man, that really shocked me with Daigneault's decision there. For Oklahoma City, Tom, give me a silver lining for the Thunder. They lose game 1 at home. They blow a 15-point lead. They lose on a game winner. Give me a silver lining for the Thunder.
SGA had his way. He had 38 points, scored 38 on 30 shots. That's actually the 6th most since 2000, the 30 shots in that game, the 3rd most we've seen in a game 1 since 2000. Allen Iverson had 41 in that game 1 and went into overtime against the Lakers. That's the 6th guy to have that many shots. And comparing that to Tyrese Haliburton, who was largely absent for most of the game, it was something that you can put down as a victory. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was great. He wasn't living at the free throw line. The efficiency, 38 points on 30 shots. That's not normally where you see Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, but I can't knock a dude who had 38 points in a game, 14 to 30 from the floor, a lot in the mid-range. This is a guy that got to his spots, but man, they didn't get enough 3-point shooting in this game. And the corner 3-point shooting on the other end, this is another thing that Indiana has done all postseason long, is they get to their corner threes. OKC, they are willing to give those up, and they made OKC play. So made OKC pay for those. I don't know. It just feels like OKC gave this one away. And you had a 15-point lead there in the second half, a 14-point lead with 8:58 left in the game. They collapsed. They collapsed. And if you're OKC, you have home court again in game 2. I picked OKC in 5. I did not see this. I'm stunned, Kev. I'm still stunned that Indiana won that game.
Yeah, I'm stunned as well. And I think you mentioned about SGA, you can't knock the guy for 30 shots. I respect Doris Burke. I thought what she said during the broadcast at one point where SGA is being over-aggressive, I thought it was crazy to say that. SGA had to assert himself in this game. His teammate shot 37% in the game. Jalen Williams was not creating quality shots for the most part in the game. Teammates were not hitting shots other than Lou Dort hitting on a heater from 3-point range. SGA gave the Thunder what they needed, in my opinion, with his 38 points on 30 shots. He should have and could have more efficient games, but that's what they needed from him in this game to have any chance of winning the game. And they just blew it. They just blew it completely. And you can point a lot of fingers in a lot of different directions there, but I think we've covered a couple different angles with them. For people watching live on YouTube, Eric in the chat brought up an interesting point as well from the Oklahoma City side of things. 53-39 on the glass, Indiana had an advantage. I think this ties back to our earlier conversation when it came to lineups, Tom. Maybe we see a bit more too big moving forward in the series, get more size out there for Oklahoma City with Hartenstein and with Chet Holmgren out there, because you see Siakam 10 rebounds, Nesmith 12 rebounds, Haliburton 10 rebounds in the game, Turner 9. Their center had only 9. 3 guys had more than him. Maybe get more size in this game, clean up the boards a bit better on the Oklahoma City side of things. There's little things that they can do, and they almost won this one. But ultimately, man, Indiana did what they had to do. They split, and now we got a real series here. I picked OKC in 5, but I had said before the series, if Indiana splits, anything can happen. If Indiana splits the first 2 games, this probably goes deeper than just 5, because I don't see OKC winning 4 in a row. I just don't see that. So we get a real series here. And once again, every expert, every analyst, every pundit, everybody's picking OKC in 5. They were the heavy favorites, minus 700 in the series. OKC in 5 was the most popular bet in this series as well. Once again, is Indiana just being overlooked? And here they are, winning game 1 again.
Incredible. 15 rebounds in the fourth quarter, 6 rebounds for OKC. 15-6 in the rebound column in the fourth quarter. That was the game for Indiana. And they get 5 offensive rebounds. They had 6 3-pointers, 6 for 10 threes in the fourth quarter for Indiana. OKC in the fourth quarter, 0 for 5 from downtown. They got to the line 13 times compared to Indiana's 7, but that margin on the boards and that margin in the 3-point column, that was it, man. The shot making from Obi Toppin, the shot making from Tyrese Haliburton and Nembhard. I keep thinking about that one-on-one ISO he had against his countryman, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, with the 2 minutes left. It was so dirty, man. It was such an incredible move, something that you don't see a guy, he didn't average 20 points a game in the regular season, but in the postseason, he's so much better. He's one of the best playoff risers we've seen in recent NBA history, Andrew Nembhard. And he does it again in this one when they needed a bucket to close it with a 1-possession game with 1:59 left. He takes the MVP off the dribble and just says, check this. It was an incredible shot, and just one of the 5 3-pointers that they made, or 6 3-pointers they made in the fourth quarter. Incredible shot making.
I think what happened before that shot was Nesmith. So OKC was up 9. Nesmith hit a 3. Then Nembhard hit a step back 3-pointer, right? And I believe that was the step back 3 you're referring to right there.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next play, Dort had the block. He had a block on Nesmith at the rim, and then SGA scored on the other end. And at that point, it was like, okay, OKC took the punch, and they looked like they were about to blow the lead, and now they got it back. They're okay. But Indiana's ability in these games to not just be resilient, their mindset, their approach, but they continue to run their offense late in games. It's so unusual. Think about all the clutch teams in NBA history, Tom. The image in your mind is ISO, pull up jumper from the elbow, step back 3. It's a lot of slowed down moments in games. And then with Indiana, they just keep running their stuff. That's what they've done in all of these comebacks, is they just run their offense. It's not slow down isolations. It's running their stuff. And I think it's It's beautiful to watch, man. Like, they are such a fun team that reminds me so much of those beautiful game Spurs. And you know what? Maybe they are the new age beautiful game Spurs, the beautiful game Pacers. And they're going to maybe win a finals behind this style of play where they just run their stuff in these clutch moments on offense and play defense hard, versatile throughout the game. And here they are, up 1-0, Tom. Up 1-0 in the NBA Finals. Anything we missed in this game? Anything else on your mind that we didn't cover with the finals?
Yeah, this isn't lucky for the Indiana Pacers. At some point, you just say, this is part of the script. Like, this is part of what they do. This is part of the blueprint from Rick Carlisle, is the resiliency, the perseverance, the never say die attitude, all the cliches from the movies. This is that team. Like, Rudy has nothing on the Indiana Pacers. This is the craziest comeback underdog story we've seen in a long, long time. The Indiana Pacers, I'm going to say it again, plus 5,000 to win the NBA championship preseason. This would be the most unheard of NBA championship ever. The most unlikely championship ever if Indiana pulls this off. And now they've got potentially 3 more games at home to do this, to close out the series. And you said it with the playmaking, the passing. This team passes more in this postseason than any postseason we've seen since the 2015 Spurs. In the 2013 Spurs, what we saw was that quintessential summertime. Jackie McMullen did that amazing ESPN The Mag story, talking to Greg Popovich, talking to Tony Parker about that incredible series against the Miami Heat. I was there for that. The way that they just completely demoralized the Heat with their passing surgically. The Indiana Pacers do that too. And they had 6 assists in that fourth quarter tonight. And the Oklahoma City Thunder had just 1. They had 6 assists on their 12 field goals in the fourth quarter, and OKC had just 1 assist on their 6 field goals in that fourth quarter. Just summertime. They play ball like it's summertime. They want you to feel like you're out there as a kid, out on the blacktop and just having fun with your friends and moving the ball the way the game is supposed to be played. They play basketball like it's summertime. The sun is out. It's warm. Everybody's in a good mood. That's how Indiana plays basketball. Everyone touches the ball, and Tyrese Haliburton, although I felt like at times he was too passive and not looking for his own shot, man, he had something up his sleeve, and he delivered there at the last second.
Tom, there's other things happening around the NBA right now. So game 1 of the finals will be on Sunday. Let's talk about some news. On Thursday, we got reports that the Suns could have a surprising suitor for Kevin Durant. John Gambadoro on Arizona Sports 98.7's Burns and Gambo, Suns insider. Gambo is always on top of things with the Suns. Gambo said that the Clippers are an under-the-radar team for Kevin Durant. And so I was thinking about this from the Suns' perspective. Maybe the Clippers could put together the most appealing trade for Kevin Durant. And I played with the trade machine, and I came up with a deal, Tom, I want to get your feedback to. Clippers would get Kevin Durant for Norm Powell, Bogdan Bogdanovic, 2 salaries, Drew Eubanks, Kobe Brown, and the number 30 pick. If that's the type of deal the Clippers could put together for the Phoenix Suns, do you think that's an acceptable deal for the Suns, or should they be expecting more somewhere out there in return for KD, who's in his late 30s, has only 1 year remaining on his deal, is not quite in his prime anymore?
If you trade Kevin Durant for Norm Powell, I'm sorry. Like, that's not the return I'm looking for.
The number 30 pick, Tom.
Kev, you know this draft as well as anybody. Is the number 30 pick, with all the NIL deals we're seeing right now to bring back end of first round talent, is that really a 30 pick, or is that like a 45 pick?
No, I think it's like a 30 pick. I do feel that way. I think a lot of the guys that went back were, after 30, if that makes any sense. But what do you expect for KD is my underlying point here. Are you really going to get a lot for him at his age, with his injury history, with 1 year remaining on his contract? Is a 6-man of the year quality guy in Norm Powell, another quality rotation guy, Bogdanovic, and a first round pick possibly the best that's out there for the Suns. Or in this case, the Clippers can deal their 2031 first as well. If they had to give more, they do have that as an option. They could add second round picks as well. There's other ways you can go about this. You could give Derrick Jones Jr. instead of Drew Eubanks and Kobe Brown. There's different configurations for the Clippers, but do you see this as a viable path, or are you just thinking, no, there's nothing the Clippers can put out there that would make sense for them to go get Kevin Durant, KD goes somewhere else?
Yeah, I would imagine he goes somewhere else if that's the offer that the Clippers are going to put in. But again, if the Clippers are a dark horse suitor for Kevin Durant, you're not going to put in Zubats into the deal. You're not going to put Kawhi Leonard into the deal. So like, it's going to have to be something like this. And I don't see Matt Ishbia and Brian Gregory signing off on something like this. I'd imagine they could get something more from, say, Minnesota. But then again, if Minnesota's like, hey, we can offer you Nickeil Alexander, well, they can't, unless it's some sort of sign and trade, but like Julius Randle, I don't know if that gets you anywhere. Julius Randle being an expiring deal, is that something you want? Or Norm Powell being an expiring deal at $20 million next season. Maybe that's something you can, hang your hat on and say, look, we got a good player. He's a veteran player, 31 years old on the back half of his career, but we got a first round pick for Kevin Durant. Can you get more from somewhere else? I'd imagine you could. I'd be surprised if that is the best deal you could get for Kevin Durant, even though, he is at this age where I don't know if you can guarantee that Kevin Durant is going to be healthy for a full postseason run. The Clippers are not built for the 16 wins that you need to win an NBA championship. Does Kevin Durant help you there? We saw what happened with James Harden and Kyrie Irving a few years ago. I don't think it's any more likely that you win a championship than that team a couple years ago, and they broke down as well.
KD is going to be 37 next year. And with him, I could see, the Knicks, Shams Charania reported how they made an offer for KD at the deadline this year. Minnesota, as you said, also made an offer. Anthony Edwards and KD have a very close relationship. The Rockets perhaps could have interest in Kevin Durant as well. And if they wanted to put a stronger offer out there, they definitely could do that. And there could always be surprising teams as well. I don't think you can rule out a team coming out of nowhere and saying, you know what, screw it. We'll go get KD for 1 year and try to win a hell of a lot of games, put with an offer that puts them over the top of anybody else. So I think there's other teams that could offer more for Kevin Durant, but I am intrigued by the Clippers as kind of a team, because if they did put their 2031 first up on the table for him, unprotected, if they were willing to do that, that would be a high value asset considering how old that team is. That would be a valuable choice for them. So for the Suns, they're dealing with the KD stuff. They just hired their head coach, Jordan Ott, who is a Cavaliers assistant head coach. The Phoenix Suns have hired him as their new head coach. No surprise here. Jordan Ott went to Michigan State.
The Phoenix Spartans. This is Phoenix.
It's happening.
I've never seen anything like this, man. We talked about it on the Big Number this week with Dan Devine. We in Charlotte, we had Michael Jordan hiring Buzz Peterson, his college roommate at Chapel Hill, and then Mitch Kupchak, also Chapel Hill. But it's not like they hired George Karl. It's not like they hired Hubert Davis to run the team. This is all three levels. The owner, the GM, and the head coach all went to Michigan State and all played under or coached under Tom Izzo. Like, man, when they released the names of the candidates, I was like, who are we kidding here? Jordan Ott's going to get the job. He went to Michigan State, game over. And, this guy, Brian Gregory, he's a college coach. He's been a former head coach at college. But, like, to hire this guy as your top executive, I mean, it is one way to do it. And his press conference was, all he talked about was alignment, on the same page. We're aligned, all aligned. In other words, Matt Ishbia, take the reins, take the steering wheel. It's your organization. Go run the team how you want it. And he made an email to he wrote an email, a memo to his organization. And he was basically like, I did things by the book. I did things the traditional, the conventional way as an owner. and I hired experts, and now it's time for me to step in and throw my influence around here a little bit more. I'm not happy with the results. When has that ever worked, Kev? When has the owner coming in and meddling in all those decisions, when has that ever worked in the NBA?
Well, let me read you exactly what he said, Tom, because I just think it's fascinating. It's just so fascinating. He said, "Let me start with the most important point. The Phoenix Suns will do things very differently than most other NBA franchises. I will be extremely active in the decisions and management of this organization on and off the floor. While I won't be reviewing film, designing offenses, or running the draft room, I will be deeply involved in ensuring the basketball organizations, like every other area of our organization, is performing at the highest level. I'm aware that this approach is different than most other organizations. I'm not the conventional NBA owner, and I don't want to be." And that's where he got into what you were saying. I've tried the conventional playbook, this and that. Dude, you weren't hands-on before? Like pushing for the KD deal, saying, okay, we'll give it all. We'll give all the picks. We'll give Bridges. We'll give everything. You weren't hands-on before? What does that mean with what we're about to see? What does it mean?
Devin Booker, blink twice if you need to be rescued. Okay. Like, if you're Devin Booker watching this organization be run by this alma mater of Michigan State, I want out. If I'm Devin Booker and hearing these quotes from my owners saying, like, I need to be more, what does Matt Ishbia know what it's like to run an NBA team as a head coach or as a GM? He's saying he's not going to be making the decisions in the draft room or not making the decisions in X's and O's. But you hire two people who you were boys with from Michigan State to run your team. It seems like you are going to be at the helm. And if I'm Devin Booker, I want out. That does not seem like a professional organization. And given the fact that, he's saying, I'm going to do things differently. Different isn't always good. That is not always a good thing to run things completely antithetical to how, like, look at Sam Presti and how he's run that organization in OKC. Look at how Kevin Pritchard over in Indiana. Like, it's not like they're just hiring cronies left and right to make sure that they're run in the same way. It is I don't think any NBA fan could even name who the owners, if they had the picture up, who the owners of OKC or Indiana are. Like, I just don't think that he's doing this the right way. And I'd be afraid that you're going to scare away the guy, the only star there that has been there since day one, Devin Booker, by the way he's running this.
I'll tell you what, Tom, I'm a little surprised that stuff isn't more out there with Book. He's 28 years old right now. He turns 29 in October. During the early part of the season, still in the prime of his career, but about to turn 30, hasn't won a championship yet. A ton of teams that are contenders would want Devin Booker if he decided to ask out. A ton of teams would want Devin Booker. And so I'm a little bit surprised that there just hasn't been more, scuttlebutt about that or more real noise. Whatever it is, I'm just surprised we haven't gotten there yet when we're already talking about a team, Kevin Durant being traded, possibly this summer. In all likelihood, KD gets traded. We're talking about the Suns figuring out ways to get rid of Bradley Beal, how they don't want him back, talking about waiving him or finding some type of trade partner for him. They don't want Beal back. And then Booker, like you're there alone on the island, Tom Hanks castaway style. It's just like there's nothing there with you. Is it really that important to be a lifer there? Maybe it is. Maybe it is that important to him that he wants to be a lifer in Phoenix. Maybe he loves living life in Arizona and that's where he wants to be. That's very possible. And, all respect to him if that's what he wants in his life. But so many players, especially everything I know about Book, that drive to win a championship, I don't see the path for Phoenix right now, man. I just don't see the path, and that's why I'm surprised, and we just don't see that stuff out there with him.
Is there a Michigan State guy on the Knicks? I'm just trying to figure this out. So we know that Karl Anthony Towns and Devin Booker want to play together, and I said before the season, like, if the Phoenix Suns just spontaneously combust this season that you could see
Which
Leon
they did.
Rose, who they did. It didn't actually happen, but the time is still there. Like time hasn't completely run out on this theory that the Knicks will try to do everything they can to get a guy like Devin Booker on the team, especially when Karl Towns, also a CAA guy. They want Karl Towns. They want to get him happy and making sure they can build a great offense around him, and they let Tom Thibodeau go. Is there a scenario in which the New York Knicks get on the phone with Brian Gregory and say, how do we get Devin Booker here? If you're already willing to trade Kevin Durant to the Los Angeles Clippers, and let's say Devin Booker figures out a way to make a trade request, a soft one, so it doesn't make him look like the bad guy, maybe you do a deal for Mikal Bridges and bring him home.
There's nothing Book can do that makes him look like the bad guy. I think Suns fans would support Book, in his desire to leave. I think they would say, we get it. We get it. We understand why you want to leave. I don't think there's any world in which Book would end up looking like the bad guy here. The one thing I will say, Tom, is I don't think the Knicks have the assets to go get Book. If Booker did ask out, I just don't see the path for the Knicks. Even if he were to say, I want to go to New York. I want to go to New York. I don't think that the Suns are going to take whatever scraps the Knicks can give from their leftover pile of assets after trading 6 picks for Bridges, after going to get Karl-Anthony Towns. I just don't see that. Booker has 3 years remaining on his contract. To me, the team that makes the most sense to go get him is actually the Houston Rockets. Everybody talks about KD for the Rockets, but to me, Booker is the guy that makes total sense for that Rockets roster, for where they are as a team, what they're missing with his playmaking and scoring and shooting ability, his versatility on ball and off ball. Booker would be perfect for Houston to go actually cash in on some of their own assets and give Phoenix back some of their own picks. And I do wonder, though, if the Suns are trading KD, and if they're trying to get rid of Beal, and if all they really have left is Book and a bunch of young guys, maybe you continue trying to build as a young team, but maybe you just go all the way in on a rebuild, getting back a lot of your picks, especially next year, and what is a loaded draft in 2026 at the top with multiple guys that are of Cooper flag quality. Darren Peterson at Kansas, AJ DeBonta at BYU, Boozer at Duke, among others in that draft class that are number 1 pick quality. Maybe that is a path you would thinking about going if you're the Phoenix Suns. Hey, I mean, look, Shams and Windhorst and all these plugged-in insiders have said how it's going to be an explosive summer. Hey, maybe you expect the unexpected with some of the guys that could become available.
I mean, isn't the writing on the wall here? I mean, I know Phoenix fans will say there's no way Devin Booker is going to ask out of this situation, but
why not?
The Bradley Beal no trade clause, that was the first wild card for them. And then you switch a coach for 3 straight seasons. First you have Frank Vogel, and then you have Mike Budenholzer. And now you bring in a first-time head coach that went to the same alma mater as your new GM, who's never been a GM before and is a longtime college coach under Tom Izzo. This seems to me like, in any other normal circumstance, you're looking at this as a third party, an independent party, and saying, how is Devin Booker happy with this? This doesn't seem like a serious organization, Kev.
Yeah. I mean, hey, we'll see what they end up doing with Kevin Durant. That's really the first domino here. And then from there, Tom, who knows? We have a whole offseason ahead of us, draft around the corner. I talked with Raphael and James Barlow about the NBA draft later on this podcast. And Tom, we have a whole NBA finals ahead of us as well after the Pacers game 1 win. I still can't believe it. I still can't believe it.
Yo,
Tom,
do you remember
crazy.
this stat I did real quick? The stat I did earlier this postseason was that Tyrese Haliburton was 12 of 14 in shots to tie or go ahead in the final 2 minutes of the game this postseason. 12 of 14. And he just added another one tonight. I mean, think about that. 12 of 14 in fourth quarter, final 120 seconds to tie or go ahead. And he hit another one. like a movie script. If someone wrote the script on this Indiana Pacers and handed it to some executive in a studio, they'd laugh it off and say, this is not possible. This is not realistic. What Tyrese Haliburton is doing this postseason, Indiana Pacers are doing this against OKC that won 68 games and went 35-1 against the Eastern Conference this season. No way that's possible. And yet here they are up 1-0 in the NBA Finals. I mean, and you know what? His pops was there to see it. His pops was on the road there to see it. Just what a story, man. This is so cool. We needed this. The NBA needed Tyrese Haliburton to be the villain, and he is doing that to a T. I love it.
Tom, thanks for joining me, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Kev.
Thanks to everybody in the YouTube live chat for participating, watching us live. You can catch the whole podcast as well with my conversation with Rafael Barlow and James Barlow, talking about a ton of different draft topics, intel that we're hearing, a lot of stuff packed into that. That's going to be coming up after this.